fifth gen. What's going on with fifth gen? You said you.
Oh yeah. So, well, the Raptor's getting some upgrades, which is great. You probably saw the picture that got posted last year from Comac. He's got the firing a JATM with these low drag pylons, also known as LO fuel tanks, and then carrying the Earth pods. There's been some posts on that. That's finally now public. That's been in work for many years. So that's going on. The other cool thing about the Raptor is the Racer, which is what they're called. It's the Raptor Agile Capability Release, the Racer upgrades. I think they're in Racer 3 right now. But that actually brought two things. The first one, near and dear to your heart, probably, is like they're finally on the link.
Hey, welcome
welcome to the 80s.
Right. I remember a red flag, like, hey, it's happening. It's going to happen really soon. Did not happen really soon, but it's really nice to be like, hey, could you tell me what's going on? Because I have no idea what's going on out here. Can't see anything on my radar.
Yeah, for everyone who's not tracking like just how comically stupid it was, you'd have like F-22s and these like red flags and stuff, and they can receive all of this information, but they can't actually transmit any information. And so the only way to transmit information out of like everything the Raptor is seeing into like an F-16 or an F-15 is like key the UHF radio and just like explain what's going on. So it's verbal. There's no data link. There's no way to pass the information off of the Raptor. So it's been like a running joke. And they see everything. Raptor sees everything. They just can't really do anything with all of that info.
Yeah, they just don't share.
Don't share.
Hey,
it's so selfish.
Did the NDA did it get approved? Because they were talking about all the Raptors that were down at Tyndall originally that had been upgraded in a decade or so that were going to cost millions upon millions of dollars to upgrade them. Air Force wanted to retire those, make way, spend some money in other places. Did that get approved and make its way through?
So fun fact, that issue, there's like how many are there? There's of the 185 Raptors, there's like, I don't know, 30. There's something like 30 Raptors, which are these old configuration. And they decided, hey, we're going to make these our training jets. And the Air Force and Congress agreed, I'm not making this up, like 15 years ago, that they were going to do this. We're going to have split configurations of the fleet. We're not going to upgrade these jets. We don't want to spend the money. Well, yada, yada, yada. If you basically snap a chalk line in time of one aircraft fleet, and then the other aircraft you continue to upgrade for the next 15 years, you're going to have a disparity between training and operations. Like, surprise, right? Shocking. So for probably the past 7 years, there's been a big back and forth between Congress and the Air Force, where Congress is trying to get the Air Force to upgrade these Raptors because they're not, quote, combat capable. I'd say they are combat capable, just not the same kind of combat capability that the ops jets have. You can still go out and sling missiles and do some stuff with them, like they're Raptors, right? They're just,
right.
The Raptors stuck in time. That's all. But here's the kicker, is that Congress wants to make the Air Force upgrade these aircraft, but Congress refuses to give the Air Force any money to upgrade the aircraft. And these aircraft are like, I want to say it's a 9-year upgrade. You're like, oh my God, like by the time it's like 9 years and like 20 or $30 million a jet to upgrade them to get them to the combat coded configs of the fleet. And you go, well, by the time they come off the line, you're going to be retiring the fleet. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Right. So there's a big back and forth. Like, money talks. When there's no money, like, okay, like, thank you for your interest in national security.
Copy shot.
Well,
yeah, you had to think about that too. I mean, because I've never flown a Raptor, but I imagine the Raptor is inherently an easy plane to fly. But managing the systems, the formation, the tactics, like that's where pilots are earning their money. And so if you don't upgrade the avionics and the whatever capabilities to match what your operational squadron, like at some point you're like, sweet, you can take off and land, and you have not a rudiment, you have a basic understanding of what's happened, but then you show up in the ops squadron and like, okay, now we actually have to teach you how to use this jet, which is not just going to be one flight.
Then you get into like the political strategy. So the Air Force was like, well, this was last year. Like, we want to retire these jets. And Congress is like, well, why? Like, well, they're too expensive to upgrade, and they're like split configuration, like not realizing like that was the agreed upon strategy, right? So this is the result of bad decisions that, in a bottle of Jack and a bar napkin, and a couple dudes at the bar, you can figure this out. Like, this is not a good idea.
Well, if you were in the Royal Air Force, this is where we'd be going back and be like 15 years ago, we'd be like, it was you who made this decision. And you wouldn't care because you're, right. Sitting at your beach house or whatever, but just know we found you.
We found you. You're the guy. You screwed this up for everyone else. Oh, man.
It's like, how do you even track that? But I was like, the Brits, they're really good at red tape and bureaucracy.
I don't know. We're pretty good at it too. Pretty good at it.
Yeah,
too.
no, I mean, that's all any kind of government agency.
Well, I mean, that's not. Then you have the F-35. So, F-35 number 1000 is at Fort Worth right now on the line. I saw it a few months ago. I can't remember what country it was. I think it was a U.S. version. There's like because the way that because there's 3 plants that actually push them out. Most of them are coming through Fort Worth. They like it's this one plus or minus like 2 tails on either side. Like, we're not exactly sure. So there was a variance there. It's supposed to be coming out any day now. Hopefully by the end of the year, you'll see number 1000 hit the line. The problem is that there's a backlog of actually like, where do those aircraft going? So
that's what I heard.
Oh yeah. So Block 4 is the upgrade to make the F-35 like ready for the 2025 fight and beyond. It's a $16.5 billion upgrade. Side note, if you had a $16.5 billion upgrade in any fighter in the United States, it would be freaking awesome, right?
Right.
Hey, we have the Viper fleet now has a $16.5 billion upgrade. You're like, yes, it's going to be awesome. Like, what is it going to do? Like, I don't know, but it's going to be awesome.
Laser beams for sure.
Yeah. So it's not, you put enough money at anything, it's going to be awesome, right? So the Block 4, this upgrade relies on these jet modifications, tech refresh called TR3. Well, TR3 is behind schedule for some supplier and some subcontractor issues. So that's one of the problems. The other problem is, imagine if I told you that the $16.5 billion upgrade doesn't work unless you have new engines and a new cooling system.
Yeah.
It wasn't part of the program. It's actually, so not including that cost does not include the engine upgrades or the cooling system upgrades. Oh man, it's going to be. I'm glad I'm not managing that program. Oh.
Well, I was talking to Billy Flynn because he was talking about that it requires a new more power.
Yeah.
To handle everything.
And
but
it's crazy. You know what grinds my gears is you want to talk about accountability.
What keeps
grinds my gears?
What keeps Pac open night?
Oh man, like on this, like Lockheed Martin, like to their credit, Lockheed Martin identified this issue like 15 years ago. And they're like, hey, government, just so you know, the cooling system and there's a whole like kilowatt outage of power, electrical and cooling, and like this is only going to get you this far. Like this isn't going to work. And they're like, yeah, we'll be all right. And now here we are, like, hey, Lockheed, this isn't going to work. And like, yeah, we told you, like, 15 years ago.
Because isn't one of the course of action like the engine replacement piece is like $6 billion.
It depends. So they've decided. So this is where it got weird about 6 months ago of like what engine is going to replace the current engine in the F-35. So the 2 options are what's called an ECU, the engine core upgrade. So make replace the core in the current fleet of engines. The plus is that it's usable by all the variants, the A, B, and C. Every customer will inherit that upgrade. It's going to be great. The downside is it may not solve all of the problems, right? It'll solve some of the problems, but maybe not all of the problems. So to solve all of the problems, you really need a new engine, and that's where the adaptive engine comes into play. There's not been an adaptive engine fielded operationally in the world, and so now you're like, oh man, we're going to take this $16.5 billion upgrade and then throw a new engine that's never been actually like fielded in a fighter. This is going to be like more concurrent development and cost and like, ugh. Then you get into the cooling system. So like there's the pipes that run through the jet to cool all these avionics. The pipes aren't big enough. I think Billy might've talked about this in the pod. Like you start like cutting the airframe to make the pipes bigger. Like there's definitely some engineering considerations of weakening the bulkheads to make the pipes bigger to pump more cooling into the jet. So it's not a very big jet, it turns out. It's pretty crammed tight.
It's got a lot of gas though, but
yeah,
when you're talking about cutting it open, do it because even fitting more missiles in there. That's Billy talked about that too. I think I mean that's a physical modification that is happening as the jets are built on the assembly line. You're not going to go back
so part of
redo that.
That's right. That's called the sidekick. That's put the extra missile. It fits on the A and C, but not the B of the 3 variants. The other part of Block 4 is what's called the aft bulkhead mod. They actually moved the aft bulkhead of the weapons bay further back so they can actually fit in. As it turns out, the F-35 is a seed platform with no seed weapon. So like, oops, like that weapon will field eventually, like in the next 5, 7, 10 years maybe. But that's been like this kind of a running joke. It's like it's a seed platform with no actual stand-in attack weapon. So it's fine. It's all fine. It's fine. Everything's fine. China, if you're listening, everything's fine. Everything's fine.
It's fine. Yeah, they got their problems too.
Yeah, I know.
You said we were joking about the other day. Some pretty great rejoin videos. It was the J-11 that intercepting the B-52 at night. That guy was overshooting like a big dog. I was like, you can probably see his eyeballs are as big as saucers.
Yeah, he put out that speed brake. I was like, whoop, yep, he's gonna overshoot.
Yep.
And
too much closure there.
And you've done enough rejoins to know this. Like, if you have a sight picture when you're like, I'm gonna rejoin to that aircraft, and in your mind, like, okay, I know what the visual references are and the approach angles, and I can judge distance because you don't have depth perception at night with NVGs, so you're just looking at sizes, right? Size and range.
Yeah.
Well, if you and they did it against a B-52, so if you've ever seen certain angles of a B-52 versus like a KC-135, for instance, way misleading because the B-52 has a very thin fuselage, so you think it's further away, but it has these really long wings. Like, oh my God, like you could actually like hit the wing without thinking too hard about it if you try to think of it as a normal type of aircraft. So there's definitely there's definitely a pucker factor there. They got it on tape too, which is great.
Yeah, it was great
for all of us to enjoy and throw shade back over the pond to them. So pure sarcasm and ridicule, it works.
Yeah. I don't know. If you're going to get filmed and broadcast across the globe, make sure your rejoin's on point. It
was like the guy. It's like, hey,
just say,
I got an idea. Hear me out. We're going to dump fuel in front of the MQ-9 and like, what?
This is going to be great.
It's going to be great.
Oh, wait. That's what Flash and I were joking. I was like, I mean, if you think about it, right? I always say the average age inside a formation is probably like 30. I mean, somewhere in that range, and it's like at the tactical level, you can have a strategic level impact very quickly and kick off World War III, just by shenanigans.
Yeah. Hey, watch this. Like, no. I don't know what it is, but don't do it. Those are dangerous words.
That's how it starts. It's not going to end well.
No,
it's not going to end
not
well
at all.